Okay, guys, thanks a lot for joining us on Thursday night. We do this training weekly. I try to bring different people with different ideas and different key trainings. And tonight we've got an amazing leader, Patty Whiteye. She's going to teach us about overcoming obstacles. It is the thing where, you know, it's part of our job that we build these relationships. We connect with individuals, and then we really want to get them into a dialogue about the problems that we're solving for them, whether it's hair care, skin care, or pocketbook problems. And somewhere along the way, we're going to get a little bit of obstacles in our way to getting all the way there with somebody that we're talking to. And there are terrific ideas and tips and strategies for overcoming obstacles. And Patty Whiteye is going to pour into us everything she has on her mind about it. All right, go ahead, Patty.
Hi, you guys. I am so grateful to be here tonight. Thank you so much, Aaron, for having me. I'm a little nervous. So my team knows when I get nervous, my hands sweat. I just have this, I get this tingly feeling. It's the same feeling I get whenever I have to go someplace like heights. I'm afraid of heights. So not flying. I love flying. But if I were to go like to the top of the CN Tower here, my hands would be just like this right now. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I am a wife, a mom of 3 grown kids, and a retired high school math teacher, and market mentor. And I've been with Monique for 4 years, just over 4 years. And I've been thinking about, actually thinking so much about what I wanted to share, because I have some things I want to share with you about overcoming objections. But today, particularly, I kind of had this epiphany. And so I want to break this into 2 parts. I want to talk a little bit about mindset first, and then we'll talk about the skill set, because I really think that they go hand in hand. And this is as much for me as it is for everybody else. So the nature of our business is that it's up and down. You know, there are very few people who get into this industry and have like a straight up trajectory. So it's one of those things where you have to figure out how to navigate the downs. And I was having a discussion with my husband today. Whenever he is coming home from work, he'll call me. He listens to a lot of books, just like I do. And if he gets a revelation, he'll call me and he's like, oh, okay, you got to hear what I heard, what I thought today. And so we were talking about how when you look at somebody who's successful, I got notes here, just so you know, I don't want to get off track. A lot of times it's really easy to brush off their success and say, well, they're talented, they're lucky, they've got good timing, they're really outgoing, they're driven, they're ambitious. But you know, you might think about yourself, but I'm more shy, I'm more introverted, I'm not as charismatic, not a people person, I'm not outgoing. Like, how many times have you told yourself something like that? Something where you've said, okay, yes, but they're doing it because, you know, whatever, and this is why I'm not doing it. And the problem with that is that we can take those weaknesses or those areas that we are not excelling and use them as an excuse to not do what we need to do. And I know I have done that. And I'm sure if you've done that, just somebody type in the comments if you can relate. Just say I can relate, so that I know that I'm not the only one. But I want you to know that I believe that the areas that you feel the most uncomfortable and that you feel are the weakest for you could actually be your biggest strengths. I've heard teachers, I've heard coaches say, don't worry about your weaknesses, build on your strengths. But there are so many examples, you guys, of successful people in the world right now and in the past whose weaknesses or whose obstacles, we'll call them obstacles because that's what we're talking about, actually ended up being their strengths. And I'm going to give you 3 examples. Okay. First one, I'm going back to the Bible. So I thought of this today and I thought, you know, David and Goliath, you guys know the story of David and Goliath, right? So there are 2 armies. There's the Israelites, there's the Palestinians, Philistines, and they're in this valley. And both of their armies are there. And Goliath is this giant. And when we say giant, think of this. A regular man would come up to his belly button. That's about how big he was. And he was a warrior. He was their champion. And he came out 40 days in a row, twice a day, and called for the Israelites to send their champion out so that they could fight. And so they could have a one-on-one battle right there and see who would win. And for 40 days, nobody went out to fight him. They were too scared. And along comes David. And David, if you look it up, he's probably about a teenager, maybe 14 years old. And he was a shepherd, you guys. He wasn't a warrior. He didn't have armor. He had never been in battle. He looked after sheep. And he was actually trying to pump up the Israelite army and telling them, you guys, you can do this. Like, you can do, you look at what you've got, everything you need. Plus you got God on your side. You can totally do this. And nobody would go. And so finally he said, I'll do it. I'll go. Not a warrior, no armor. The king actually even let him try his armor on it. It was so heavy, he couldn't even move in it. No weapons. He didn't have he didn't have a sword and all of that kind of stuff. He went out with all he had, and that was a sling and some stones. Okay. Now, here's the thing. He had seen some obstacles previously in his life. As a shepherd, he had to battle a lion and he killed it to keep his sheep safe. He had to battle a bear and he killed it to keep his sheep safe. And I'm sure he had plenty of other animals, wolves and things like that. He had all these obstacles that had helped build skills and give him something that he required to go into this impossible situation, like absolutely impossible situation. So he takes his rock, puts it in a sling, swings it around, smacks Goliath right in the middle of the forehead. It sinks in deep enough, it kills him, cuts off his head. He wins. It's all good. So here's this kid who looked like he had none of the skills or none of the abilities to be the winner, and he ends up being the winner. So that's my first example, where his actual weaknesses and his obstacles led to his greatest triumph, right? Well, maybe not his greatest, but at that point. Okay, the second one I want to tell you about is Michael Jordan. Okay, hands down, arguably, I'll say arguably because some of you might argue with me, but arguably the best basketball player ever. Okay, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Do you guys know that in high school, Michael Jordan was cut from the basketball team? And being cut from the basketball team actually could have been, that failure could have been the end of him. He could have said, oh yeah, I'm not so good, I'll probably never make it. Why even bother trying? Lots of people do. You probably have somebody in your life that got cut from a team and that was it for them. But instead, what it did was it fueled his fire to outwork, outpractice, outperform every other person. And what went into that? Well, we see the Michael Jordan who won all of the championships and has all of the rings, but do we see all of the hours of practice to learn the skill to go into that? So his weakness, whatever it was that the coach wasn't seeing for him to be on that high school team, ended up being his biggest strength, right? He turned it into his biggest strength. So that's my second one. My third one is Mel Robbins. If you haven't read The High Five Habit yet, you guys, I highly recommend it. I love it on audiobook because she reads it and it's like you're in her living room having coffee with her. It's like she's talking right to you. She tells a story in this book that she says she's never told anywhere before, and it is about her time in law school. She was a total disaster, you guys. In law school, she was in a really bad pattern of self-sabotaging habits, sleeping in the morning, not doing her work, not like going to class, but not doing her homework, drinking too much coffee, drinking wine at night, procrastinating, and over and over and over, like self-destructive. And one summer she got the opportunity to go work for the Attorney General of Michigan. And he had her doing a summer research project. And this is what she's trying to become a lawyer. What a crazy opportunity. Think about that, to work for the AG of Michigan. She completely blew it. She didn't do any of the work. She was so overcome with anxiety. She was so nervous. She didn't know where to start. She didn't want to ask any questions. That was such a huge thing. She didn't do one thing. The summer's coming to a close. The AG calls her into his office and he says, okay, tell me where you're at because I want to launch this program. I want to get it going. She panics. She gives a whole bunch of excuses, turns around, walks out of the office and doesn't even quit, just never comes back. She says, I ghosted before ghosting was a thing. That, like, she could have sabotaged her entire career by doing that. But look at where she is now. So the things that were her weakest problems, her biggest issues, her most massive obstacles have made her one of the most famous speakers and self-help gurus in the world, because she's figured out how to use those weaknesses to turn them into strengths, to figure out how to help everybody else who goes through the same things, right? So this is what I wanted to tell you, is that when you are looking at yourself and you're thinking, what is it that I feel like I can't do? When I look at Patty doing this talk right now, am I sitting here thinking I could never do that? Oh my God. I would, like, if Erin told me next week, I want you to train on this, how would you feel about that? Would you be shaking in your boots? Would you be like, I'm not qualified, I don't know anything about it? If that's how you feel, or if you feel that way about reaching out to people, starting conversations, building relationships, meeting new people, being outgoing, these are all things I had to overcome. I was very introverted. I've told people this before. I love the fact that we had Messenger when I started, because I never had a face-to-face or mouth-to-mouth conversation, voice conversation with anybody when I started my business. I texted because I could hide behind the phone. And if somebody rejected me, I didn't have to look at them in the face, and I didn't have to listen to them say no to me. I could just look at the text and I could move on and go to somebody else. Yeah.
I want to say something. Can I
Yeah.
interject a story real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
No.
you told all those great stories, and I was trying to pick a spot where you're kind of had maybe a small break between, but I had to share this story, okay? Because Senior Louise just kind of shared this story, and it's probably present for a lot of people. So we were in the Directors Summit. We've got all the directors there. We've got all the OG directors, and we've got all of the directors who started the last couple of years, and we've got, you know, a plethora of directors there. And something that you guys don't realize is that when we all started, you go back to the OGs started, they were recruiting. Every single one of us had run into a failure at some point. Roxy lost an entire leg right after she hit director for the first time. It took her like 7 months to recover. But you learn from every failure how to go on and do better and learn more and improve. And the reality is we all just came off of an amazing growth spurt in 2020. 2020 was, you know, it's kind of like the analogy of if you're going fishing and you pull your boat over, and even before you cast your line in the water, the fish just start jumping in your boat, right? And that's what 2020 was. Fish just jumping in our boats. It was people with COVID, scared to death or afraid of COVID, figuring out they can make some money, and they jumped on. And the reality is there's a lot of leaders that were established back then. In 2020, they joined Monate. They went from 0 to 60, and they're directors in 6 months, and they're all of these things. But the reality is they hadn't seen a failure ever, right? And imagine David having gone into that fight without ever experiencing the success and failures that got him the training that he needed, such that he was able to win that fight. And that's what you got to remember every single time you take, you look at the month, you look at the action that might happen, you look at some girl that decided to quit, whatever the obstacle that comes up, it's one of those things that it is such a learning opportunity. And if you hadn't had that, you would not succeed. John Maxwell talks about it. There's no success without failure, guys. And everybody is going to go through it. So all these, Senior Louise is looking at all the OGs saying, all of these guys have been through this time and again. And Ray will tell you, he has been in business as a leader in business for 20 something years. And he'll tell you like 4 of those years felt good. All the other ones, there was always, you're on the edge of a knife. You feel good, but you're on the edge of a knife. You're on the edge of failure. You're learning, you're growing, you're trying again. And he said, there's only been 4 years where it was like, the fish were jumping in the boat. Okay. So it's going to happen, but it's what you do. And so this timing of this training couldn't be more perfect. Okay. I'll leave it back to you, Patty.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's so good. So I just wanted to say a couple of things about the mindset thing. I want you to wonder, is it possible that the very thing that's holding you back could be your superpower? I want you to really think about that. Really think about it. So if you, let's say you're shy, let's say you're really shy and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like I can feel the feeling I had when I started about that feeling of, I had to literally make myself do the reach outs, make myself. And that could end up being such a superpower for you because you will relate to way more people. The fact that you overcome your shyness, or the fact that you overcome, I don't know, you're being scared to speak in front of somebody. Those things, by you doing the steps to be able to do those things, will create such a relatability for you that people will be drawn to that. And that will be what, like, it will be your attractive factor that people are going to say, man, she was just like me. Like, she was just like me. She felt the same way I did. And if she could do it, maybe I can do this too. So here's what I want to tell you. The second half of this is going to help you with some skills that you can practice. Now, if you've never heard of this author, I'm going to drop another book for you. There's an author by the name of Malcolm Gladwell, and I love his books so much. Like, I eat up those books. Part of it is because he has like a science background, but he makes it really understandable. He changes data into something that you can relate to and tell stories about it. So he has a book called Outliers, and inside that book, he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And so he talks about people like Michael Jordan, who you see get successful, but you don't see the work that goes into it. So another example he uses, like the Beatles. The Beatles they look like this incredible, unbelievable overnight success that just blew up. But he talks about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bars and clubs that they played in all over Europe before they ever saw that massive, girls screaming success that they had. The name of the book is Outliers. It's by Malcolm Gladwell. Now, I will tell you that there are some people who argue the 10,000 hour thing and say that talent has more to do with it than practice. But for the average person who doesn't have the talent, practice will get you where you need to go. So mindset and practice, belief and practice. All right, so let's talk about the second half. This is going to go pretty fast, but I need your participation for this, you guys. We're going to talk about objections that people give you when you're talking to them about either joining you in business or about purchasing products. So I want you to drop in the comments, what are the most common things that you hear from people about why they can't join you in business or why they aren't ready to buy the products? Just throw them in there. Let's just talk about, what people say. Why they didn't buy the last sale? I have to do more research. I can't sell. I already like what I use. I don't have enough money. Well, these are coming fast. It's too expensive. It's pricey. What about for business? I can't sell. We got that one. I'm not salesy. Good. I don't have enough time. That's a huge one. Amy said, it makes your hair fall out. That's another really good one. I'm an introvert. I'm not pushy. These are awesome, you guys. Okay. So I have this document. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. In the back office, you can find the and I honestly can't remember. I think it's called Overcoming Objections, Leading to a Decision, Guiding to a Decision, something like that. But you can find a document similar to this. So Sunshine Health Stub and I actually worked together on this, and we added some stuff to it. We kind of took out a few things and added a few things, and I have a formula for you, and it's super simple to remember, and everybody can use it, and you can remember it, okay? And you can practice it. You can literally role play it. You could actually ask one of your upline or your crossline people to do this with you. The formula is called Feel, Felt, Found. Feel, Felt, Found. Okay, so let's take the one I can't afford it. Let's say we're talking about the business and they tell you, okay, I really, really want to join you, but I can't afford the $199 or the $249 that it is to get the product pack right now. You're going to say, it's feel, felt, found. You're going to say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. So this is an example that I would use. I know how you feel. Oh my gosh. I felt exactly like that when I started. My goodness, I had to put it on my credit card, and I had never purchased hair care that wasn't like whatever was on sale at the grocery store. So that kit was a big investment for me. But let me tell you what I found. We have this really cool program called Smart Start. And not only did I earn back my kit money, but I earned 4 figures in my first 2 months because I built a neighborhood, and I could tell you all about it. Okay, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me tell you what I found. And I know some of you are going to sit there going, okay, but what if I didn't feel that way? What if it wasn't a struggle for me to pay for my kit? Then you're going to say, I know how you feel. My friend Patty felt exactly the same way. She was in the same position as you. Her credit cards were almost maxed out. She didn't have any breathing room. She knew she needed the business. She went ahead, and this is what she found. She was able to build a neighborhood in her first 2 months, and it not only did it pay for her product, but it earned her 4 figures. Right? You see how easy that is, you guys? Now there's a second part to this. The second part to this is, how do you go from that to the close? And this is the part that I added on because it's so brilliant. I think it's Eric Worre. I don't know, you guys, I do a ton of training. So if I could, this is your next thing you're going to say is, if I could show you how to make your money back from your product pack in maybe a month, it could be sooner than that. Is there anything else that would hold you back from starting with me? Tell me you have ding, 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 ding bells going off, because you guys, this is the most brilliant close you're ever going to have, because you do not have to sit there and explain how to do it. It takes the explaining away. You can literally say, if that's your only objection, and I can show you how to do it. I'm not going to show you right now, but if I could show you, would you be willing to start right now? And if they say yes, it's like, okay, we'll go to the next objection. What's the next concern? Let's get that answered. If they say no, it's like, let's get you signed up. Don't you worry. I have an upline. If I don't know how to do it, I have an upline who's going to show you how to do this. We have training, we have support, we have people. Aaron will help you. If you don't have anybody else to help you, help them get their money back from their kit, he will help you. Right, Aaron? So, okay, so I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me tell you what I found. You guys, I'm gonna send this document. I'm gonna put it in Rockstar, so you don't have to write all this down. It has a bunch of objections on it and a bunch of samples, and it's a blend of what's in the back office and some of the things that Sunshine and I came up with. So, okay, let's do another one. Yeah, oh, I love it. This is so cool. And it works, you guys. I've done this and it absolutely works. The first time I ever did it was with somebody who wanted to sign up with me. And I can't remember, she didn't have any time. She's super busy. She's a full-time student, plus a mom, plus she has a job. And I'm like, if I could show you how to fit this into your nooks and crannies, that's what we're going to talk about next. Okay. So next one is, for the business, I'm super busy. I don't have the time. You know how you feel. I felt the same way. I was working full time. I had my kids. I was driving my daughter to 2 hours away, 2 days a week to go for basketball practice. And every other day she was practicing in town. You know, I was a busy person when I started. But let me tell you what I found. I was able to fit this into the nooks and crannies of my day. I gave up some of my scrolling time that I used to do on Facebook, and I changed that in to do some income producing activities, which I can show you what those are. They're not hard. It's just sharing and reaching out to people. And I was able to find that was enough to be successful. If that's is that your only subject, or sorry, if I could show you how to fit this in your busy schedule, are there any other things that would hold you back from starting? That's it. So you're not explaining to them. You don't have to actually have the answer right then. You're just saying, if I can, and you guys have to be so confident that you can, because you don't have to be the one who does it. You have an upline. You have the person who can show you. Okay. And you can even say that. You can say, listen, I'm brand new at this, but my sponsor told me they're going to show me how to do this. So if they can show you how to do it too, is that the only thing that's keeping you from starting? Right? Okay, let's do one. I know it's 9:30 already, but let's do one that is for the product side. So let's say it's like, makes your hair fall out, because lots of people get that, or there's lawsuits or something like that. You guys get, you hear that all the time. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, like, because I started in January of 2018. That was like the height of the viral negativity that was going around, and I didn't even know any better. It just felt like I had been in multi-level marketing before in the 90s, and I just figured, MLMs have a bad name, and that's just something that comes along with that just comes with what you're doing, So if somebody says to you, I heard that it makes your hair fall out. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I felt like, what happens if I start using this and then I have those issues and I start like sharing it with people and then they have those issues, then what's that going to look like? It's going to look like, what kind of person would do that? But this is what I found. I went and did my own research. I looked at our scientific advisory board. I realized that the people that we have that are creating these products are absolutely the top dermatologists and doctors in their fields. And like, this is my personal answer. You guys, you can come up with your own answer, but my personal answer is, I couldn't imagine that somebody with that kind of credibility would ever put their career on the line. And I believe in the science, and I know the products are naturally based. There's no toxic stuff in there. I looked at the kind of stuff that, is in the other products. And for me, I started using it and my hair has never been better. And I know hundreds of people just like that. So if I could get you your answers that you have specifically about products or ingredients, is there anything else that would be holding you back? That's it. So all of them have answers here. You can pick an answer because some of them have 2 or 3 different answers, but do you guys have questions about it? Okay, here's a question. What do you say when somebody says they like what they use? Okay, so this is one thing I should have prefaced this at the beginning. There are some people who are just a no. There are some people who they're just a no, and that's possible. That you might have somebody who really does love what they use. Now you could say something like, if I sent you some samples, would you give me some feedback? And that way you're not asking them to switch, you're not asking them to change. You're just saying, I'd love to hear what you think compared to what you're already using, that kind of thing. Maybe Erin has more ideas for that, but there are people who will say to you, they'll give you an objection and they might be saying, like, they might say to you, well, I don't really have the money. And really what they're saying is no. They really just don't want to hurt your feelings. And if you get an absolute outright no, that's good. You want to know that. You don't want to be like constantly going back and following up with somebody who really isn't interested. Maybe you're trying to follow up with somebody for the business and they just really have no desire, and that's okay. But this is for the people who are, maybe they're just hesitant, maybe they're scared, maybe, like that kind of thing. So yeah, if they say they like what they use, you can try with the samples.
Well, what I would do in that case is I would Google what they're using, to be honest with you. And somewhere in the mix, if you find something that they're using and it's got bona fide bad ingredients, you can say, well, I know you're using that and I respect your decision, but I just wanted to let you know that these are some of the chemicals that I found in your products. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm concerned for you, and I want you to get onto healthier products.
I was going to say, you can actually, if you actually say, put it as we call it a third personing them. So say, instead of saying, I want you to use it, you could change the verbiage and just say, that's actually one of the reasons why I switched, because I noticed that my ingredients were really not good for me and my family. And I wanted something that was cleaner. So I thought I better let you know. And then that way it's, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea. Okay. Any other questions, or is that good? I think we're good. Okay. Well, you guys, I will put this document in the back office. There aren't a lot on here that are for product because we actually split that when we did this training with our teams. We split it into two and somebody else did the product side. So if there's a specific question that you want answered and you want to drop it in the training and ask for some suggestions of what to say to that, like whatever it is, like the lawsuits and stuff, just let us know. And Aaron and I and other people can probably pop in there and say what their response usually is. But
so the great news is after she posts this in the back office or in Rockstars, I will post a list of overcoming objectives that have been crafted by many people. I don't even know the source of it anymore, but I actually keep it in the notepad of my phone so that if somebody says this, I just go down the list. There's a link there and a little video or a news article or something that says exactly what it, a great approach. That together with the feel, felt, found, and if I could, man, this was a awesome training, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
All right. Take care, guys. Talk to you again soon. Bye.